The Cardinals continue to sell right up until the 11th hour. Welcome in. I'm Kainani Stevens, JD from Locked On Cardinals. I figured we might be talking again. Last time we talked, we said the team probably wasn't done, and they've continued to get as much in terms of prospects as they can back as they deal off, some people that probably wouldn't be around long term. Jack Flaherty is headed to Baltimore. Was this a surprise to you? Are you happy with the return? What was the immediate reaction?
Honestly, I was getting nervous there for a little bit that they weren't actually going to deal him and we're going to get stuck with him. He's going into free agency. He seems like a guy who's probably going to pull down a nice little contract from somebody, and the Cardinals don't really do all that well in bidding wars when it comes to free agency. So I always felt that they needed to move him, and it seemed like the AL East was a place that really wanted some Jack Flaherty in their lives. There were multiple teams that were after him, and eventually Baltimore finally pulled the trigger and were able to get a deal done here. And I mean, I can't be all that upset about it, considering that they were able to get two top 20 prospects in return for a rental, and then they threw in another pitcher at the end there with Zach Showalter. So personally, I'm pleased with it.
When you look at this time of year, obviously any team that's contending, they want a rental, they want an arm. What is Jack Flaherty at this point? How has he been this season?
He's been up and down, a little inconsistent. He continues to come back from years of injuries where he had some issues, and but he's gotten better as the year went on, where he ended up getting more comfortable. The only thing that is an issue with Jack Flaherty going to Baltimore, where fans are going to be like, "Oh," is the walks. The walks where he hurts himself over and over, because he's still got good stuff. He's not like a 98, 99 type, mile per hour type of power pitcher, but he still gets the strikeouts. He's had a really good ability of getting out of tough situations where some runners will get on, and somehow, some way, Jack was able to figure out a way to get out of those problems. And he's been very good at that this year. He's got a lot to offer. If he can cut down the walks, he's going to be somebody I think Baltimore fans are going to really enjoy.
Now that we're past the deadline, I mean, knock on wood, I don't know if something else will come through in a minute, but what would you kind of grade the team in terms of where they're at, what they were able to get in return?
I'm going to say, because it's really tough to, judge prospects, especially most of these guys were AA type of guys. We're not even talking about guys who are on the verge of making it to the pros, to the major league. So it's tough to judge them. But considering that all of these guys that the Cardinals moved were rentals, that were going to be free agents anyway, I'm not unhappy with what they got. So I'm going to go with a B. I think the Flaherty move, I like what they were able to get there. They were able to get that Cuban infielder, Prieto, who's hitting 349 at stops at AA and AAA. And they got a couple of pitchers. They ended up getting, I believe it's 7 total pitchers back. And that's what they said they were going to do. They were aiming to get pitching. Got a couple of infielders, got a young catcher as well in the Genesis Cabrera deal with Toronto. So they brought in a haul that is going to replenish their prospect system. And the idea is that you combine these prospects along with what you do in free agency this offseason, where the Cardinals are going to have to spend some money to fill out this rotation. And somehow, some way, you're going to combine those to put a winning team on the field in 2024.
When you sell off this much stuff at the deadlines, obviously waving a little bit of a white flag, what are you hopeful to see the back end of the season, or maybe some young prospects that are a little closer to coming up that you'd like to see get playing time?
Well, the first one you think of is after you trade Flaherty and Montgomery is like, who's going to pitch any of these games that you got left? They've already made the announcement that one of their top pitching prospects, Matthew Liberatore, who famously was traded for Randy Arozarena, he is going to be up on the Major League roster, and he's going to be one of their starting pitchers moving forward for the rest of the year. I'm curious how he ends up progressing for the rest of the season without any pressure on him whatsoever, because it doesn't matter if they win or lose. It's no big deal. The idea now is to learn as much as you possibly can and take that moving towards 2024 so he can compete for a rotation spot, because they need him to take one of those spots, whether it's the 4th or the 5th spot in the rotation next year. Also with the trade of Paul DeYoung, which, kind of got thrown under after the Jack Flaherty news near the end of the deadline here. is that opens up another spot for top prospect Mason Wynn to get moved up to the major league roster at some point in August. I don't know if it's going to be right away, but at some point, mid-August is kind of what they're targeting here. Brendan Donovan, who also plays middle infield, it was announced today he's out for the rest of the year with elbow surgery. So again, another spot opened up where I want to see some of these young guys get a little taste of the big leagues. You know, I want to see some of the other pitching prospects like a Michael McGreevy and a Gordon Graceffo. I would love to see them up in August and September just to give them a taste of what it's going to be like at the major league level so that they're ready to compete next season for a spot in this rotation.
Now's the time. Let's see what the youth have and maybe get a cup of coffee and see what they will be like potentially. Of course, a lot of new names are coming to the Cardinal system. You can check out Locked On Cardinals for all the details going forward.